morning, church. God is good, and all the time, He is good indeed. Or, as they say in Linden, and His mercies endure it forever. We must give God, praise and thanks. Despite the circumstances, He is still good and His mercies endure it forever. Things could have been worse, but we still need to give God praise and thanks. Even though we can't meet physically, we have the internet and those that are working every week with our virtual program so that we can, actually meet over the internet or over our phones and have programs like these. So even in these times, we need to give God praise and give Him thanks. With that, I hope that we have been keeping safe and are following all of the health guidelines in protecting ourselves and our loved ones. Welcome to another program this morning. This morning is Men's Sabbath, and we are going to be discussing a health topic this morning. This topic was actually suggested by the Guyana Conference. It was noticed that in our society we have a lot of males or men with big tummy or big belly, as we would say here. And so this morning we just want to have a bit of a talk on that area and to discuss the health implications and so on surrounding that area. So this morning our topic is men with big tummy or men with big belly, right? Many of you may see this as a problem while some may not, and this is why we have chosen to have a discussion on this, right? Because it is becoming so prevalent in our society that we don't even recognize it as a problem or it as a health problem that will, affect us. Sometimes not immediately, but in the long run, it does affect us. So we are going to be looking at men with big tummy, or in medicine, as we say, abdominal distension. And so we are going to be looking at some definition, looking at some causes, complication, how we can manage or treat it, prevention, and also some benefits from prevention. Actually, according to the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO stated that obesity rate among Guyanese adults went from 35% in the year 2006 to 55% in the year 2016. It also describes or states that obesity is now being termed as a medical condition or as a disease that is affecting people or may affect their general health. So abdominal distension occurs when substances such as air or gas, fluid or even fat and so on accumulate in the abdomen, causing it to expand. And this is typically a symptom of an underlying disease. So the abdomen distends when you are actually when you have other medical condition or dysfunction in your body, right? And this can be a symptom of that dysfunction or that underlying disease, right? In medicine, we know it as having the 6F for the causes, and those Fs are fat, as in the case of obesity, feces in the case of constipation, flatus or gas if you're having any gastrointestinal problem, fetus in the case of pregnancy, this is excluded, this is for females, fluid in case if you have ascites and so on, and the other one is a fetal mass, as in a tumor or cancerous growth. But today we are just going to be focusing on two of these areas, which is fat in the case of obesity and fluid in the case of ascites. Now for adults, generally over 20 or so, there is a standard measurements for BMI, and we look at that to see where you fall under which category in determining your status or your BMI status. And that can be as follows. If you're below 18.5, you are underweight. If you are 18.5 to 24.9, then that is normal weight or healthy. If you are 25 to 29.9, you are overweight. And if you are 30 and above, it means that you are, or you fall under the category of being obese. And like I said before, the BMI is calculated using your weight in kilograms divided by the square of your height in meters. So if you know your weight, you convert that in kilograms, and then you divide that by your height in meters, and you square it. Alright, and which category you fall under, then you will know your status, so your BMI status. If you're underweight, if you're normal weight, if you're overweight, or if you are obese. So men in our society are having big tummies or big belly. And remember, like I said before, we have different causes of it. And so we want to talk about two of those causes, which is fat in the case of obesity and fluid in the case of ascites. In the case of fat, as in obesity, we all know that too much fat is not good for anyone, male or female. And so when we have a lot of fat consumption, or even carbohydrates, we find in the case of men, the storage facility, if these are in excess and not coupled with physical exercise, then that storage place is our belly. Think of it as the trunk of your car, right? As in the belly. When we pack too much in our trunk, then that run out of space, and then we'll have to find another alternative place to store fat. And when the storage in our belly is excess, then fat starts to accumulate in other places, such as our liver, our pancreas, and even our muscles. And these are when more severe medical problems can happen or may develop. In contrast, because of estrogen in female, they tend to store their fat in their hips and in their legs and thighs and so on. Alright, so men, when we have lots of fat in our diet or carbohydrates and we're not exercising a lot, then we have that accumulation in our belly. And this can be one of the causes why we have, our tummies being bigger than usual, or distended, because we have an unhealthy diet and an unhealthy physical exercise pattern, if you want to call it. Right, in the case of fluid, we all know our kidney is primarily there to filter and get rid of waste, and this come out as urine. And kidney disease are mainly linked to fluid retention in our body. And alcohol is also linked to our kidney being damaged. And we know as men like to consume their or some men, I would say, like to consume alcohol, and if they're hanging out, they would have a few drinks, or even fewer or more drinks. And when we consume a lot of alcohol, this tends to damage the function of our kidney. And remember, I said our kidney is responsible for filtering, our bodies and getting rid of waste. And so if we consume a lot of alcohol and we impair or we damage the kidneys or impair the function, and they are not able to function as normal or as fast, if we want to put it that way, as it normally should, then we have the rate at which it excrete urine or excrete waste is not, sufficient or not normal. And if that is the case, then we have fluid or water retention in our bodies, because remember, the fluid, the urine, is not coming out as frequent or as normally as it should. And so if we consume a lot of alcohol and we damage or impair the rate at which our kidney filters our body, then we have retention of those fluids inside of our bodies. And like I said before, the storage area in men is our tummy. And so the first place, if we have an excess of fluid or fat, it will go to our tummy. And like I said before, if the fat is stored in our tummy, as if that space runs out, then it goes to our liver and our pancreas and our muscles sometimes, and that can cause problem. In the case of fluid, when it goes to our tummy and that becomes an excess, it starts to build up, and if it goes to our lungs, then that can cause us to have severe or more severe problems. Right, so those are the two causes that I wanted to point out this morning: the fat and the fluid. Right, so with that being said, we need to look at our diet and also minimize the intake, or even if we can stop taking alcohol. Right, what are some of the complications of having a big tummy? Right, this might not affect you immediately, but in the long run, it may cause you to have more severe medical issues. Right, and especially for our young men, this is something that we need to take into consideration. Sometimes we want to have fun and hang out and go out and take a few drinks, or go and have a burger or chicken, or just enjoy yourself. But in excess, and if we develop a big tummy, this can affect us in later years to come. One of the complications of obesity or having a big tummy is heart disease. Right, when we have, or ischemic heart disease as we would know it, meaning the blood vessels that goes to your heart in supplying your heart with blood, these become clogged up with fat. Right, because we're having excess fat in our bodies, and if the fat clog the arteries that goes to our heart, then obviously it's going to limit the amount of blood that goes to our heart muscles, and this can cause us to have a lot of heart complications or problems. We can have chest pain or angina, we can have heart attack, and we can even have a stroke sometimes if this happens. We can also have problem with the muscle in our heart, because if blood is not going to the heart, we know the heart is a muscle. This can cause, problems with the muscle of the heart. One complication of having fluid too much in our body is kidney disease or chronic kidney disease. As I explained earlier, the kidney filter waste and excess fluid from our blood, and this is excreted in our urine. And if we, remember I said alcohol is linked to kidney disease, and so if we have consumption in excess of alcohol, then we cause our kidney to be damaged or fail. And in the long run, this can cause, a chronic kidney disease, meaning that your kidney function is impaired over a long time. Right? And this can affect you as you grow older. This is one of the complications of excess fluid in our body. Another one can be diabetes. Right? Obesity is like a precursor to diabetes. And so when we have too much fat in our diet and we're eating a lot, our body is, the sugar level is in our blood is at a constant high. because we're having, a lot of consumption of, all these processed food, all these saturated fat and salt and all of these stuff. And so we put our body at risk for developing diabetes, right? And so those are some of the complications that can arise from having big tummies. Now, how do we treat this or manage it? And this is very simple. As we all know, if we are obese or overweight, one of the most effective ways is to exercise, right? And we need to do our physical exercise. I know sometimes or as men would usually work, right? And this can also be one of the reasons why some have, big tummy. They don't have to go out all the time to, have a burger or have chicken or so on. Sometimes working, you don't have enough time to, to exercise. You go in your vehicle and you drive to work and you come home and you rest and you go, daily like this, and you're not having enough time to exercise or to have physical exercise, right? And so we need to look at that also and find time to put in a walk, up the street, down the street, around the block, whatever you can do to, exercise and keep your body active in losing weight and then also in building muscle mass. This can, prevent you from having a big tummy or being obese or in any way like that, right? Another one is nutrition, your diet. Some men may not get to have their daily breakfast as they would want because they are in a rush to go to work and so on, right? Or sometimes some men don't eat in the morning, and then you find when it's lunchtime you have a hefty amount of lunch. And in Guyana we are traditionally known to have too much of rice consumption, right? Or sometimes we go at Chinese and we order Chinese food and we have lots of rice and all these oils and meat and fat and so on, right? And these can, cause us to have an excess of fat in our diet and carbohydrates, and this can put us at risk of having a big tummy. Also, another one is our behavior or behavioral therapy, we would say. And this have to do with our eating habits, right? Behavioral therapy aims to improve eating habits and physical exercise level, right? And so this have to do with your daily habit. You need to avoid high calorie food, choose healthier foods if you want to dine out or if you want to go out and have lunch or dinner, whichever. Choose healthier foods. Another behavior pattern that we can adapt is to eat properly or to chew properly, and slowly. Have good quality sleep and manage your stress. These are also ways in which we can prevent having a big tummy or obesity, right? It can also be a benefit to you mentally, because you are going to be more proud, or if you want to say happy with yourself, because you are going to be in a better body mass, and you are going to be more fit and more confident with yourself. It may also increase your self-esteem, right? In having, a healthy body or a fit body as opposed to having a big tummy, right? This can be mentally benefiting to you to prevent having a big tummy, right? It can benefit others also around you, because when others see that you are eating healthy and you are choosing to exercise and to keep your body in right shape, and you are choosing what you're eating and so on, it benefits them because they will look at you, especially, those in your household and your kids, your workers and so on. When they look at you, they would want to follow, and they would also want to eat healthy and exercise and do all that you are doing in preventing, this big tummy pandemic. And with you making that choice, somebody else following, then we reduce the risk or the incidence of having big tummy in our society. There are many other benefits that we can, look for in preventing um, big tummy, but these were just a few that we can, look at, and also encourage others to, do the same as we are doing. So, with that, this has brought us to the end of our discussion. I hope that we have learned something as men, and I hope that we are going to, share it with others so that they can, live healthier life and reduce their risk of having a big tummy.